Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Ys 1. In the last part, we finished off our duty in the main portion of Asteria and made our way into the Tower of Darm. Where am I going? When Adol came to, he found himself locked in a prison cell. He checked his belongings and found that some were missing. In fact, if you check, we are now down an entire silver set of armor, so make sure to get on your talwars, your large shields, and your reflexes. Fancy meeting you in a place like this, eh, Adol? I'm ashamed to confirm that, yes, I sleepwalked here. Somehow. When I woke up, I found myself surrounded by monsters and scrambled to get away from them. But it was no use. They caught me. Only instead of killing me, they threw me in here. Weird. I guess might as well see what we can find in this cell, because there's got to be some way out of here. The walls are made of a heavy stone and covered with a thick layer of dust. There seemed to be no one at all on the corridor. Great. Wait, you came in here by choice. I'm flabbergasted. Why in the world would you do that? You certainly don't look out of your mind. Actually, you look short of yourself. Completely. Admittedly, it takes a brave man to walk through that tower door of his own accord. I salute you, sir. Oh, yeah, ran into someone else in here, too. Or rather, I saw him briefly as I fled for dear life. I was in a passage with a row of statues and saw an old man holding something, but then he disappeared. Also incredibly weird. Come on, there's gotta be some way out of this cell, right? There was no window or drain. The room was quite stuffy. Ooh. I guess we're stuck here. I guess that's the game. Howdy, stranger. Don't worry, I come in peace. Doggy's the name and wall crushing's my game. Pleased to meet you. Let's save the chit-chat for later, though. We gotta get the hell out of here. Watch your step, man. Traps all over the place. One false move and you'll wind up right back in here. 3 stories up, there's a hallway with a line of statues. An old man named Rabba is hiding there. He's been here a long time and knows this tower like the back of his hand. You should talk to him. Alright, come on everyone, time to go. Let's make like dust and blow in the wind. And thus a friend was found. We'll talk later. For now, just try to stay alive. You never know where the monsters are lurking. Oh, hey, I hate to ask, but if you do go see Rabba, would you please take this idol to him? He must have dropped it at some point, and without it, he's totally exposed to the monsters. Gotcha. If you were paying attention last time, you might even know exactly what row of statues he's talking about. But before I do that, there's a achievement I want to show up that you can get that's actually kind of funny. Yeah, losing the silver equipment is why we saw those treasure chests last time that had a talwar in it, I think the reflex armor, and there's another one somewhere in here that has the large shield if you didn't get that for some reason. Because they take the silver equipment away from you, and you really do need the prior tier of equipment to do any kind of good damage to enemies around here until we find some way to get them back or get an upgrade from them. So the thing I'm showing off is, if you ignore going to find Rabba in a floor where he is, and go back to where we teleported earlier at the start of the part, we find ourselves once again in the prison cell. It seems he wasn't paying much attention. As expected, his silver equipment was missing, just as it was last time. How embarrassing for him. And if we wait a moment, our blue-haired hero will once again rescue us. Man, what would you ever do without me? No need for thanks. Just don't fall for that trap again, okay? But hear me out. What if we fell for it one more time? Ah, familiar cell. Nice and cozy. Use your noggin, man. I love breaking walls, but I'm only one man, so stay out of trouble. If you do that 3 times and break all 3 cells open, you get an achievement in the Steam version. Plus, the dialogue's funny. I love that Falcom just is a little goofy like that. They're like that in all over their games. So at this point, I have gone out of my way to max out the Gestona enemies that are around this floor. And now we're on floor 3 in specific. This is where the line of statues is. Now, of course, we haven't noticed a passageway here before, but we've already used an item before to see a hidden passageway in the game, the Mask of Eyes. Equip it and then look between 2 of the statues, and we find this particular room. Take off the mask, and there's Rabba.
What? That's my idol. I see. So Dogi asked you to bring it to me. Much obliged. My name is Rabba. I'm a seeker of ancient knowledge. A scholar by trade, if you will. I came here 6 months ago to study the ancient ruins of Asteria. But while I was investigating this tower, monsters suddenly came from every which way. So I've been hiding out in here, hoping they wouldn't find me. This idol has been my saving grace, It may not look like much, but it's full of power. When held close to the body, it can make you completely vanish from sight. It's the reason I've been able to survive for so long without the monsters finding me. Well, young man, what brings you to this dreadful place? Your equipment suggests you came here knowing of its dangers, so I assume you have a reason.
Adol explained that he entered Darm Tower in search of the Books of Ease.
I see. That was going to be my first guess, actually. The name Ease appears quite frequently in ancient texts, even on the mainland. They say it's a land adept in the powers of magic with an abundant supply of a silver-like metal. But as time went on, the name simply vanished from history. No one mentioned it anymore. Nowadays, no one even knows where on the map to find it. It's a name we scholars always figured belonged to some long-lost utopian land of legend. But I always knew Ease was somewhere in Asteria. I had a hunch anyway, and it would seem I was correct. If I've got it figured right, then something akin to the storm wall appeared on the day Ease was lost. Storms encircled the island, and when they were gone, so was Ease. All that remained was this here tower. Asteria's minstrels tell of swarms of monsters killing off half the land's people in a single night. Nobody could get away either on account of the storms. Meanwhile, the monsters built Darm Tower. Then right after the tower was completed, the monsters all just disappeared. The crisis had passed. Several hundred years passed, and in that time the whole mess was forgotten. Well, mostly, anyway. But the danger was still there. It was dormant, but it was there. You sense it too, don't you? As we speak, someone in this tower is setting something evil in motion. There are traps everywhere around here. Without a doubt, someone, or something, is puppeteering it all. To what end, though, I have no idea. But we can't just let it happen, can we? Of course, that's why you're here, though. So you intend to keep climbing this tower, do you? In that case, I think you should have this.
And thus we get the blue necklace, which will allow us to progress further in the tower.
As long as you're wearing the blue necklace, the tower's many booby traps will be totally ineffective. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a few things I need to ponder. You go on ahead, alright?
Sure thing. So, if you have the blue necklace on when you get towards the trap on that floor, you will no longer get teleported back to the prison. But now that we've met Dogi and Raba, if you check your character notes, we have now met every character in the game. Roughly 46 some odd characters in this first entry. Sure, a majority of those NPCs are just names that have some brief things to say about their town, the area around them, all that, or sometimes the updating situation throughout the land. But for a game that came out 6 months before the original Final Fantasy in its original version, that's pretty darn impressive. Dragon Quest did still beat this to the punch by about a year, but still pretty impressive, albeit obviously they did add some new dialogue here and there in the later releases. The original game still had a surprising amount to do, though. Like, it was very ambitious for the time. Either way, equipping the blue necklace allows us to get past the trap and continue on, and now we're on floor 7.
So yeah, it's me, Dogi, saving your hide yet again. Seems you've got a knack for getting into trouble, but at least you're doing stuff, I guess. So I've got to ask, what the hell are you doing in this tower to begin with?
Adol explained his reason for infiltrating the tower.
Okay, so you came here to get your jollies and wound up with more than you bargained for. I gotcha. Good to hear that Goban's doing well, though, at least. He and the others are probably real worried about me. Have you met Raba? He's an old weirdo, but I owe him my life. I was pinned down by a monster and out of options when he suddenly unidled himself and saved my hide. I'm helping him scout out the tower to return the favor. Might as well, you know? I mean, I'm here, and I hate leaving a place without tearing it up first. Anyway, there's a rod somewhere around here that's designed just like that crystal you've got. From what I hear, you'll need it to get to the top floor. Heard about it from the boss's mom. When she tells you something, you don't question it.
Ah, Dogi. Get used to seeing him, he's a fan favorite. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, I'd say this is where Darm Tower really starts to pick up its difficulty a little bit by bit, because they start throwing a lot of enemies at you very quickly, even compared to earlier. And the floors do start getting a little more complicated with what you have to actually do to progress. But really quickly, in this chest we find our silver sword once again, so we've reclaimed it, so we are now a bit stronger. You do need this to beat the game. You don't technically need the silver shield or armor, but you really want to find them, let me tell you that. Something I do appreciate, though, and this is mostly in this version of the game, The higher up we get in Darm Tower, they actively do start making more and more details in the background change. Like, literally, your altitude will change, what you're looking at will change depending on which part of the tower you're coming out of. And the time of day also changes the higher you get up. Like, now it's definitely looking more like it's closer to sunset than it was earlier. And I just love that. I find that really neat. Floor 9 here actively has one of my least favorite enemies in the game, mostly because they're only found in this room. And respawning them in order to farm them for their bestiary details is annoying as hell to me. Because in this chest we have the silver shield again. We got that back really quickly. But now the statues are alive. These are, I believe, Normos. I don't know why, I just find taking care of them really rough. And I've never really liked fighting them. This is thankfully the only room they're really in, but still, keep your eyes out for them all the same. Right now, though, I want to talk about a tale of Steam auto-saving and cloud saving. I was going to go record an extra bit of footage to show up in the next episode in particular, because I realized I messed something up there a little bit, I think. And I went to go reload my end-game save to record part of the endgame again. My saves were gone. Like, after part 3 saves in particular were just completely gone, because I saved every new episode on a different slot, as you may have already noticed throughout the LP. So, I can't do that again without just replaying the entire campaign, and I really don't feel like doing that. Steam, why? Either way, time for a boss fight, so make sure you're ready and saved. Time for the Scourge of Ease Origin high difficulty players. This is Pictomos. Pictomos only technically has 2 attacks. Walking left and right in the back of the arena, which technically counts if it walks into you, and firing 3 sickle blades that will then go about halfway across the room away from it and then go back into it. As long as you're good about doing a back and forth, like U rotation back and forth, this fight's very easy. Ease Origin's boss, and Ease Origins, I guess Ease Origins bosses are also what I would call a little bit all over the place in difficulty, but Ease 1 especially is kind of all over the place. And part of that is because it's very easy, I think, to make a very under or over-tuned boss fight for combat like bump combat. Because either there's a bullet hell amount of bullets going on screen, or you get attack patterns like this you can just easily figure out and just completely avoid. And there's not really a way around that. The series kind of tends to stick more towards the overtuned than the undertuned point, at least in 2 and the end game of both the bump combat Ease 4s. But overall, don't worry too much about it. And in here we get our 4th book of Ease, as well as soon as I open the chest, come on, there is the hammer. The hammer's a bit of an interesting item in that it's effectively a knowledge checkpoint, where if you know where to use it and how, you can completely avoid a hazard coming up and never even have to see it. On a first playthrough, you're likely not going to, and you're probably going to get killed by said hazard, which is why you probably should be saving regularly through Darm Tower, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that yet. What you're supposed to do is, on a floor close to where this hazard is, you can find Rabba again, and he'll give you a hint on where to go to actively stop the thing trying to kill you. But since I've already played the game before, I know where to go, so I actually completely skipped that. Whoops, but oh well. Little knowledge checkpoints like that are kind of just all over games, specifically RPGs though, between the years I'd say like 86 and 92. Heck, another one by complete coincidence that I've been doing recently is, on my own time, I've been replaying Dragon Quest I on the Game Boy Color version just for fun. And because I've already played Dragon Quest 1 so many times, I know where to go to get the Seal of Loto, Erdrick's seal, so I can completely skip an entire portion where you're wandering the map looking for that. Adol? It's me, Luta Gemma. I was hiding out with Rabba, but the monsters located us. I managed to get away, but hurt my leg rather badly in the process. Oh, don't worry, it's nowhere near as bad as it looks. I just have to stay off it for a bit. I heard from the old man that a young girl was taken into the annex. I don't like the sound of that one bit. Please, Adol, go and rescue her. Yeah, I don't like the sound of that either. We'll get right on that. Before we do that, though, along the way we need to use the hammer. On this particular outdoor section on floor 11, come to this particular pillar, get out the hammer, and use it. And now that pillar is broken. So effectively what's going on is one of the upcoming floors, there's a part of the hallway where if you walk through it, there's this music that plays, and you take damage very quickly to the point where it's not quite instant kill, but you can't outpace its damage. You can't use a healing potion and get through it ahead of time very easily at all. There probably is some way in some version to skip it through some sort of glitch, I imagine, because speedrunning is all about that kind of stuff, but it's not very possible here. It's this hallway in particular. It's why it's got all these veins going on. And I believe in that room I just ignored, Raba is there before you break the pillar to tell you which pillar to break relatively. So that's me technically skipping a cutscene because I know what to do. Whoops, oh well, I've done that in a lot of other LPs just because knowledge checkpoints are very much a thing in games. I would argue that's probably the hardest puzzle in the game on a first-time run because it's the only time you need to use an item on something that looks relatively nondescript compared to everything else. We're also now on floor 13, so we're over halfway through the tower now. Oh, hi, Raba.
Were you the one who stopped the music? Thanks to you, I was able to get out of that room. Much obliged. Pity I lost my idol, though. I'll have to keep to the shadows, I suppose. Please don't worry about me. You have more urgent matters to attend to. 3 stories up, there's a passage to a smaller suspended tower known as Rado's Annex. It's a creepy place that seems to be used as a prison, and a young girl is being held there right now. And if my research is accurate, the door can only be opened by one with an evil heart. I know that's not you, but maybe with the right item you can find a way. Please, rescue that girl. Oh, I was attacked by a monster. Got away, but not without injury. Hurts if I talk too much.
If you actively try to go through this floor in particular right now, I think you actively can't really go anywhere because you'll find mirrors, but if you touch them, nothing happens. For now, at least. We'll find a way past them momentarily. What I do recommend doing right now is saving because it's already time for our next boss fight, and this is another one that's particularly tough. This is Konsklard. It's a giant mass of rocks, sort of like Theodos in Metroid Prime, that fires shots of rocks out rapidly in a circle, basically. The strategy for this is the same as it was for the Centipede, though. Get as close as you can and do tight circles around the center. Yeah, you'll take a lot of hits along the way, especially if you're getting more directly in the way of the shots. But any damage you take is immediately healed after the fight anyway, so take it like a Pyrrhic victory. And for doing that, we find the rod, which allows us to interact with the mirrors on that previous floor, as well as our 5th Book of Ease. 2 down, 1 to go, so only 1 book left. Our inventory is looking mostly full at this point, too. Despite largely being a more linear path than the rest of the game, Darm Tower at least does have these little side hooks you need to go to in order to find items to do things elsewhere in the tower. And on that level, I actually do appreciate this area design-wise. Obviously, the level design has still been updated a little bit from earlier versions, but still, it's neat. So the mirrors are teleports. They always teleport to set locations. It's effectively a teleport maze, just like out of Sabrina's Gym in Pokemon Gen 1. With that said, after the first playthrough, this maze doesn't really function well as a maze anymore because you really know the teleports already. Because compared to Pokemon where there's 4 teleports in every room, you're lucky at most branches here if there's more than 2 mirrors. And here we finally reclaim our silver armor, so we lost it all and regained it all within a single part. Ys 1 is definitely a game that's a lot longer on a first playthrough because you don't know where you're going exactly yet. But even then, Ys games in general, from where I've been so far in the series, aren't too long. They tend to be at longest like 20 hours. I've heard 8 and 9 are longer. Those are still the only 2 games in the series I haven't played at the time of recording, though I'm looking at a copy of 8 relatively soon. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. And in part 8, we're climbing to the peak of Darm Tower and finishing off the game. See you guys then.